I had hoped to achieve my vision of an earthly utopia gradually over time, with my heir carrying on my work after I was gone, but your refusal to become my heir has left me no other choice.
The League of Assassins is a clandestine organisation operating from the shadows, which is why it's also sometimes called the League of Shadows in different continuities. And basically the point of this organisation is to improve the world. In fact, Ra's al Ghul, the leader of the organisation, even considers himself to be a humanitarian. But then, so did Hitler. Now, for years, Ra's al Ghul has wanted Batman to be his successor. He considers him to be the only truly worthy person on the planet to succeed him. And Ra's ego aside, Batman is a good choice, and a logical one for the most part, as Ra's founded the League to improve the world, and that is a large part of Batman's mission. He wants to end crime and make things better for everyone. But of course they differ greatly in their methods. Namely, Batman doesn't kill, and Ra's al Ghul not only kills, but he has a cult of assassins to kill for him, and has on multiple occasions tried to wipe out billions of humans.
The globe will be saturated with their chemical solution, and when the resultant cataclysm has abated, there will come a blessed peace.
As he feels that humans are destroying the planet, which we kind of are in fairness. Though that being said, I'm not sure genocide is really the solution. In fact, I don't think genocide is ever the solution. But politics aside, Ra's wants Batman to lead, and Batman has the skills. So why doesn't he take over? Right the ship and get the League away from all the murder, and back on track to helping people around the world, by both fighting crime and trying to distribute wealth more evenly. Well, as you probably guessed from the title, we're going to go over the reasons why he doesn't do it right now. And the first problem is that he'd have to stop being Batman and take on more of a leadership role in the background, meaning he wouldn't be as hands-on anymore. But as Batman gets older, he will naturally take on a more leadership position, much as he did in Batman Beyond. And besides, if it's about how he can do the most good while still being a vigilante, well, having a league of people fighting for him would have its perks. So long as he can ensure that they only fight crime and that they fight it his way. Which leads us to the second problem. Murder. Not only do the assassins assassinate people for a living, but in order to be the leader of the League of Assassins, Batman has to take a life and prove that he is worthy of leading. Now, it could be argued that by taking this one life, he'd be able to save thousands more, which he probably would. So you could say that the amount of good he can do in the long run is far greater than the evil done in the short run. But he would still be committing evil. In fact, some philosophers say that you can't use a certainty to justify a possibility. Meaning you can kill someone and say that in the long run things will be better, but that man is still dead. And not only do you not know if you're going to be able to make things better, but you already haven't made things better for the man you've killed. Now have you? But morality is subjective, and what it really comes down to is this. What can you live with? And I think we all know Batman couldn't live with killing anyone. Hell, he can't even kill vicious psychopaths because it makes him feel bad.
I forgive you for not saving me. But why? Why on God's earth is he still alive?
And if he's not willing to kill the Joker, even after the Joker killed his son, well, he's never going to take a life, is he?
You're absolutely insane. He killed your friend. Tried to murder Nightwing. Hell, he almost killed me, and you're sorry he's dead?
Of course, there is the possibility of euthanasia, perhaps a man who's only got a few days to live, so Batman could kill him. Still counts as killing, but it's not really murdery in the same way, is it? Because it's consensual and it's for a medical purpose. Or Batman could possibly find some way around this requirement altogether. It's not always required in all continuities after all. But let's assume that Batman can. Let's say that he's able to become the leader without murdering anyone. Well, so what? After all, if he intends to get rid of murder, well, some of the League of Assassins will object, and thus the League will undoubtedly splinter off, and a war will break out between the different factions of the League for control.
Swear by the woman we both loved. I swear on my sister's grave. I will win this war, Dark Knight. It's up to you how long it rages for.
Now, in fairness, in The Dark Knight Returns, Batman does take over the mutant cult without killing. Instead, he beats the leader into submission, showing his superior skill, which these kinds of people respect above all else. Now, the mutants are way smaller than the Assassins' League, it's true, but the principle is the same. And so with the League of Assassins, whom Batman has defeated every time that he has ever fought any of them, well, they know how skilled he is, and they can see the logic in him leading. And so it is possible that Batman can beat them down without killing anyone. Anyone in the League who wants to challenge him for leadership can, and Batman will outfight them without resorting to lethal force. And he could even let them use lethal force if they want. After all, he's fought plenty of crazies and ninjas who have been trying to kill him for decades. So in short, he can take any of them on in a straight fight. Of course, if the assassins struck in the concert and in the dead of night, or when Batman was vulnerable, well, they might be able to take him out then. But still, Batman has been attacked in vulnerable ways before, even when he's outnumbered, and he's always won. So he probably could take them down. And besides, this league is full of warriors, the kind that pride themselves on having a certain type of honour. And while some of them might be willing to go against that and try to kill Batman in an unhonourable way, well, still, it's very unlikely the others would follow someone without honour. That actually means a lot here. It's a world where a man's word and code are everything. Sure, to us they seem like nutjobs trying to murder millions, but they do actually follow a warrior's code, and in their minds they have a sacred mission to improve the planet, and that does actually justify killing millions, or even billions, of people. But anyway, let's assume that Batman finds a way to lead without killing, and even manages to rule the League without killing. Well, that's great, 2 of the biggest problems dealt with. But the next problem is the biggest, the Godfather principle. And that basically means that a person can join a corrupt organisation with the intention to improve it, only to end up being corrupted by that very organisation themselves. Which of course brings us to the real reason that Batman will never take over the League. He's scared of the things he may end up having to do. He's never wanted to be a killer or a crime lord or leader of an assassin cult. He wants to make the world a better place and to end crime. And becoming the leader of a cult, well, it isn't exactly the best way to go about it, now is it? After all the League could ever do for him is corrupt him and push him further and further down a dark path. He doesn't lead them because, as he has said many times,
but if I do that, if I allow myself to go down into that place, I'll never come back.
To put it simply, Batman knows a strong moral code is needed to keep a person on the straight and narrow. It's all too easy to do something wrong and go off on a tangent path. It's how all villains start after all. Batman knows himself and he knows what he's capable of. And he knows that madness is like gravity. All it takes is a little push. Just ask the Joker.
See, madness, as you know, is like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
And some of you might think, but he's Batman. He'd never let it corrupt him. And you might even be right, at least at first. After all, the Lazarus Pits are the biggest obstacle with this corruption. It's the one thing that would be the hardest to overcome. You see, Ra's al Ghul didn't start out corrupt or as a murderous head of a cult of assassins. That happened over time, over many, many centuries, thanks to the Lazarus Pit.
I have used the Lazarus Pit too many times. I've lived 600 years. My mind and body cannot take much more. Each time I enter the pit, I am frightened of what will come out.
It not only extends a person's life and keeps them young, but with every use, it corrupts their minds. Basically, it's the pit's side effect. You don't get immortality without a side effect at the end of the day. Sure, this pit will keep you young, but it's not a perfect cure, and a person's mind will slowly be warped by it.
He has died 1,000 times. And every time the Lazarus Pit restored him, he came back worse. More hateful. More crazed.
Now, in fairness, Batman has refused to use the pits to stay young before. It happened in Batman Beyond.
But you're strong again.
No. If I stay here, I'll be weaker than ever.
Now, as a kid, I didn't really get that. I thought this just made no sense and was kind of stupid. But as an adult, I actually understand what Bruce is saying in this moment. He's saying that if he stays here and uses the pit, it will corrupt his mind and his will. It may take time, sure, but it will happen. And his strength of will be stripped away over time, and he will give in to the darker impulses of his mind. And just like any man who's seen real horror up close, he has some very dark impulses.
All I've ever wanted to do is kill him. A day doesn't go by when I don't think about subjecting him to every horrendous torture he's dealt out to others, and then end him.
So basically, Batman would rather age and die than to risk breaking his moral code, which ironically means he is the best person to lead the League of Assassins, and it's exactly why he never will lead the League of Assassins. And you do have to bear in mind that when you actually take into account all the people in the world, there aren't many willing to make that sacrifice. I mean, personally, I would say there are none. Because when it comes to being on death's door, any one of us will do anything to escape our final fate. Of course we will. We're programmed that way after all. Our species wouldn't be here without that survival instinct. Now, admittedly, there are still levels to this. I mean, if we had to blow up a school full of kids, sure, some of us might say, I'll do that, but most of us are going to say, actually, I think I'll just die, not really worth it. But if all we have to do is take a dip in a pool, I mean, come on, no one is saying no to that. We'd all take a Lazarus pit in a heartbeat. And Batman knows that as well. Sure, it's easy to have a resolve when there's still time in front of you, and even when he was an old man in Batman Beyond, he did still have time in front of him. But when you're down to days, hours, or even minutes until you're gone, well, even Batman would be unable to resist then. Plus, even if he did, someone could just dunk him in against his will. He'd be too weak to resist at that point. And we all know that a cult devoted entirely to its master's well-being would do just that if it came to it. And again, so does Batman, which is why he will never lead the League. Because even if he got in without killing anyone, even if he managed to lead them without having them kill anyone, and even if he destroyed all the Lazarus pits in the world so he can never use them, and he actually has done that before in the comics incidentally, well, even then, there is still the problem of being corrupted slowly over time by the very organisation itself, which isn't something you can stop or see coming. That's the whole point after all. You don't see it coming. It's too subtle and too slow for that. And on top of all of this, how do you take an army of assassins, whom are basically murderers, thieves and terrorists, and turn them into something good? Well, there is only one realistic way of doing it, of course. You disband them. Otherwise, they will kill again. You can't stop a cult of killers from killing, and definitely not straight away. It takes time. Because there'd have to be at least some adjustment period for them. They wouldn't just stop killing overnight and suddenly become the League of Heroes. And do bear in mind that the type of people who would do well in a cult of killers, well, they're not exactly the type of people who would accept not killing. Or at least a lot of them wouldn't accept it. And the truth is, it is a hell of a lot easier and efficient to form a whole new league that helps others than try to turn a League of Assassins into a League of Humanitarians. Another thing the Batman knows. He can never lead without being corrupted, and they can never fully change. So they really just need to be disbanded. What else is there to do? And when you think about it, it's actually easier to disband them from the outside. He needs to stop their plans to demoralize them and to help cause them to lose faith in their leaders and their cause. Because that's the only way that they'll choose to leave that life, which is what you really need. Otherwise, these people are just going to give their lives to the cause and never quit. After all, if Batman took over and then tried to disband the League from within, well, they will likely see that as them being forced into a life of peace, and they'll take it as a challenge and will just rebel against it without thinking, and they'll either ignore Batman's orders or they'll form their own League of Shadows. I mean, it could work in fairness, but it would still be easier to take it down from the outside, especially in terms of the fact that Batman wouldn't have to sacrifice his morals or his code. Again, this is kind of like the mutants in The Dark Knight Returns. He showed the mutants that there was another way.
These are loud and clumsy. These are the weapons of cowards.
And then they chose to leave their old way of life and join him. Which may work on the assassins, maybe, but bear in mind, the mutants weren't fully indoctrinated and mind-washed. Most of them were just a bunch of teenagers who didn't really know what they wanted to do with their lives and were angry. Unlike the League of Assassins. I mean, you've got to remember here that they are mind-washed and deluded to oblivion. They are not the kind of people who would listen to reason. And I mean that literally. They'd attack you while you try to talk to them. They're not interested in changing their ways. It's another reason why leading them down another path is kind of just a waste of time, because they will resist you tooth and nail all the way. And yeah, you might think, well sure, but some will want to change their ways. They'll want a more peaceful life, surely. And there might be some, but realistically, there actually wouldn't be. Because the ones who are like that, who aren't fully committed to the cause, as the cultists would put it, well, they've already been killed. The only ones who would be left in the League when Batman takes over are the full-on mind-washed slaves, the kind that a man like the Demon's Head wants to do his bidding. So, yeah, that's why I think Batman doesn't take over the League. I fully think he could. I mean, Ra's al Ghul wants him to, and he certainly has the skills and the connections, so he could take it over if he wanted to. But realistically, just joining them means crossing moral boundaries that he doesn't want to cross. And even if he did, it really just wouldn't work. Batman's aims and the aims of the League of Assassins are just too dissimilar. And you may think it's just the murder thing they disagree on, but there's also the bombings, the blackmailing, imprisonment without trial, unless they just kill him of course, the human experiments, mind-washing, and basically every crime the CIA, MI5 and KGB have ever committed. which is to say they've committed the crimes of every standard Black Ops organisation is on the planet, and they are some dark, dark sins we are talking about. And while Batman might be fine with some of it, he won't be fine with all of it. He just won't. But what do you think? Do you agree with my rationale of reasons as to why Batman won't take over the League of Assassins? Or do you disagree with me entirely and think that there's actually a lot of reasons for him to take over and lead them? Be sure to let us know in the comments, along with any other reasons you can think of for him not taking over the League of Assassins. And I'd just like to quickly remind everyone that we have some merchandise available on our store, and to say thanks to all of you who have donated to the Needle Mouse Productions page on Patreon. And as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.